My name is Elaine and I'm here from Move Wellness to offer you the second in our four-part series here on Facebook Live called Pilates Basics. And we're here today to talk about the abdominals and abdominal connection. So last week we started the series with talking about breathing and how breathing relates to the breath. And if you missed that class and you'd like to find it, you can find it both on our Facebook channel for Move Wellness and then also on our YouTube channel. So we have that for you. We also did an introduction to Pilates where I talked a little bit about the history and principles of Pilates and what to expect in a class. And I'm here at home in my home studio and trying to project as loudly as possible. I'm sort of not a sound engineer, and I have all kinds of really interesting sound devices that might help me amplify my sound, but I can't get any of them hooked up today. So here we are with me projecting as much as possible and you hitting the volume tab on your device as you can, and then we will work hard to make sure we get some amplification in the future. But meanwhile, I will use my good lung capacity and my breath to project as much as possible. It means I might take some breaks for water as we go through. But today's class, these are really meant to be basics classes so that you can either refresh and reconnect to how to organize movement in the body, or you can string them together and do a longer class, or if you're new to Pilates and you're curious about it and always have heard about it but wondering what it is, you can try them as well. So make sure you're only exercising with your doctor's permission and don't do anything that hurts. Those are really our guiding principles here. We want to keep you safe. And the goal, as Joseph Pilates said, in this work is to actually help you feel energized for the rest of your day. So we do a lot of noticing as we are organizing the exercises and really checking in with your body. So that's how I'd like to start. We'll start sitting comfortably here. And you can be upright. You could start on a chair. We're going to do some things on the mat. So if you can get down to the floor eventually, that would be great, but it is absolutely fine for you to sit upright in any position that you feel comfortable with. So what I'd like you to do is just sit and notice. We're noticing the body and the breath. So last week we talked about taking that gentle inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And we call it lateral breathing. You're breathing three-dimensionally so that you're really expanding the breath down into the trunk and feeling side to side and into your back breathing. So try that a few times. And you can close your eyes or just soften your focus if you like. And as you breathe here, see if you can gently start to feel the stretch and pull of the muscles around the rib cage. And a nice long exhale will actually help calm the body. So as you're settling into the mat or your seated position, just bring your awareness into the body. Feel the ribs expand, feel the trunk expand, and feel the weight of your body into whatever point of contact you have with the mat, with the floor. There you go. And so now let's move and breathe. So let's start with some arm circles. You can bring your arms over your head and circle them out to the side. And we're going to inhale up and exhale around. And this should feel good, like your first morning yawn. Yawning stretch. And one more. And as you're doing this, we'll switch directions now. So out to the side like a snow angel and then down in front. And what we're doing is we're rotating your shoulder blades on your rib cage, and we want them to glide easily. So just notice where you might feel a little stuck, or you might it might feel a little harder. You might have some what I call snap, crackles, and pops. Hopefully they don't hurt, don't move through pain, but I certainly do in one shoulder have a little pop until I get warmed up. And then let's do some shoulder circles. So I like to go front to back here. So your shoulders are coming toward each other, up and around, and you're breathing and stretching. Should feel nice. And then switch directions back and around. And one more. And then just float your arms in front here. Let them release and relax like they're floating on the water. So you're not holding your shoulders up. You're really allowing the shoulder girdle to release down. You're not pressing anything down or pulling or over-stabilizing. We're just trying to find ease in the joints. And so now I want you to think about protracting and retracting your scapula. Now that's those are anatomical movements where you let your shoulder blades glide away from each other, and then you bring them back to a nice neutral position where we started, and then you retract your shoulder blades. They pull toward each other and come to neutral, and they glide away and come to neutral, and they glide toward each other and come to neutral. Try that a few more times and move and breathe. Inhale here maybe, exhale to neutral, inhale as they come together, and exhale to neutral. And it's okay if you're exhaling here and you inhale to neutral, just move and breathe, and notice what it feels like to let your shoulder blades glide across your rib cage. And for this little class, I want you to remember this because it's going to come back later on in the session. So retract is when they come toward each other in the back, and then they come to a nice neutral position. And then protract is when they reach away from each other, not going up to your ears, just letting them glide away, and then you come to neutral. Try one more. Retract and protract. Good. Let your hands come down. So let's take all of this down to the mat, and I'm going to talk about connecting to your abdominals. And in Pilates, there's lots of different ways that we can teach these sensations and help people feel this connection. And I'll add that a lot of it depends on your unique posture and alignment. There's no good or bad or right or wrong. There's just how to organize the sensation and movement optimally for your body. So what I'm saying today hopefully will work and make a lot of sense for a lot of people, but there's a chance that for your body you might need some very unique information and instruction. So and we change how we frame it depending on you, your unique structure, what you do all day, what you love to do. So really this is a generalization today, and I hope it helps, and you can just feel free to let me know if it helps, and if you're confused, we can talk about that too. So we're going to do what we call our pelvic clock exercises. So you're going to start on your back, and you are just releasing your body into the mat and feeling the sense of weight and gravity, falling into gravity. Your feet are in line with the middle of your hips. They're not too far out, they're not squeezed together, they're not too far away from your body, they're just a comfortable distance away from your pelvis and hip width apart, which is right in the middle of your pelvis. So we're in this position, and you're going to layer the things we've already done into the work, and that's how this work really is so successful. So anytime you breathe for the next 30 minutes, you're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And if you saw last week's video, you know that we have a little party trick where you blow out your mouth and you can feel your abdominals tightening. So that's going to be helpful here too. So I'll talk about the party trick. When you're in this position, your hip bones and your pubic bone make a triangle, and you want that triangle to be about parallel to the floor. And again, this is where your unique body might have, it might be another situation, but in general, we want you to try to find that bony landmark, those bony landmarks parallel to the floor. If you feel like you're really splayed open here and it's not comfortable, go ahead and tip back just a bit and find some comfort and weight right in the rib cage. And if you feel like you're really tucked right here, try to just let your tailbone, that sacrum, the bones of your pelvis fall. And sometimes if you have tight hips, if you like to run or you sit at a desk a lot, or both, sometimes we get a little tight in our hip flexors. So just try to find what you can comfortably today. And so if you imagine the front of your pelvis as the face of a clock, your belly button would be 12 o'clock, and your pubic bone would be 6 o'clock, and your hip bones would be 3 and 9 o'clock. So from here, you've got that clock and it's about parallel to the ceiling, parallel to the floor. And I want you to breathe into that party clock, that ab party trick, where you exhale and feel a little tightening across the front of your pelvis. Do you remember that we blew out the mouth? So we'll try it once here just to refresh. So you take a breath in, and on your exhale, you blow out your mouth. You keep blowing. Keep blowing, keep blowing, and then you start to feel a little stretch and pull into the low belly. That's your transverse abdominis, or it's a way to get some stimulation into those deep abdominals, and that's the sensation I want you to find, and that's why we exhale on exertion and connect to those low abs. So from here, we're going to take a breath in, and on your exhale, you're going to blow out your mouth, feel your party trick, and pull your pelvis to 12 o'clock. So I'm doing what's called a posterior tilt, but I'm using my abdominals to do that. I'm not using my glutes. I'm really just using the abdominals. And there's all kinds of wonderful imagery that people use to describe this. Maybe you're hiking you're tightening some suspenders, and you're feeling your hips pull towards your rib cage a bit. Or you can also say that you're hollowing out that low belly. You can say that you're dropping your abdominal tissue into the mat. I don't want you to press anything right now. I want you to just feel the connection to the abs. So 12 o'clock. And then rock back to neutral. You have to let your pelvis kind of swing back to neutral. So we'll try that a few times. You're going to rock to 12 o'clock on an exhale. And then you go back to neutral. And exhale. And then back to neutral. And make sure you feel your abdominals doing the work. And it's subtle. It's really subtle. And if you haven't done anything like this in a long time, or you're used to using your rectus abdominis or some of your global movers, your big muscles, it might take a little time before you really have the sensation of this movement. But it's okay. If you practice it a little bit every day, you'll get there. So now we're in 12 o'clock. We're going to go back to neutral. And I want you to rock to 6 o'clock using the same muscles. So you're going to exhale, connect those low, deep abs with your party trick, and then rock to 6. And then come to neutral. And draw your abs in and rock to 6 and come to neutral. And we're just trying to bring that awareness of what it means to rock to 6 o'clock, because those are cues that we're going to use later. And we can really use those cues and sense what the movement feels like here into gravity when we're resting in gravity, so that we can test it, we can challenge it later. So we're rocking to 6 o'clock and neutral. Let's do one more. And then come back to center, and now you have 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. your hip bones. And so now we're just going to rock side to side to 3 o'clock and then 9 o'clock. And you're exhaling and using those abdominals to rock from side to side. So we're just bringing some awareness into the fact that we can move this part of our body and what it feels like, bringing some awareness into your body of what it feels like to move this way. And then when you come back to neutral here, from rocking side to side, I want you to hike one hip up towards your armpit. So now all of a sudden you're bringing 3 o'clock to your armpit and then back to neutral. And then 9 o'clock to your armpit and bring it back to neutral. And still use the exhale and the abdominals to do that. So these are just really teeny tiny little warm-ups, bringing some movement into the abdominals, into the pelvis, a little bit into the lumbar vertebrae, and all the tissue that helps inform movement and stability in that area. So again, this should feel good and not super challenging, but subtle and a deep connection to the body. So now you're back in neutral, and I'd like you to take a breath in, and on an exhale, rock to 12 o'clock again, and push your heels down into the mat. So try that a few times. So you're exhaling, rocking to 12 o'clock and pushing your heels down. And 12 o'clock, exhale, abs, push your heels down and feel little movement in the pelvis. And you might feel your hip extensors kick on. So exhale, abs, push the heels down. And I hope you can still hear me. If not, we will try to figure it out for next week. So let's do that one more time. Exhale, feel your pelvis rocking to 12 o'clock with your abdominal connection. Push your heels down and then peel your hips off into our hip rolls. So you peel your spine off the mat like a Band-Aid, and you're going to roll down one vertebra at a time, spreading through the low back and coming back to that nice neutral position. And so exhale, connect the abs to 12 o'clock, push the heels down, peel the spine off. And so now you feel your abdominals connect and your hip extensors. Try to keep ease and width in the clavicles. And it helps sometimes if you want to push the top of the back of your arm down in the mat to keep that from curling forward. If this is something that's new to you, you might get a cramp in your hamstring. That happens sometimes. Stretch it out and try it again. Don't work through a cramp. Give it a rest. And sometimes it takes a few days of practicing this, a few sessions before the cramps stop. I always say just get really curious about why that cramping is happening. Maybe the muscle is changing length in a way it hasn't before. Maybe it's taking load that it hasn't before. And so now this time you're going to go up on your hip rolls. And what I'd like you to do is try this. Now, if you have cramps right now, it might not be for you, but it's okay. If you feel like you're stable enough here, your glutes are turned on and they're lifting your pelvis up. Make sure your ribs aren't popping up to the sky. They're really dropping down, and you feel that ease in your shoulders. And you're going to lift one heel and put it down, and then lift the other heel and put it down. Don't let your hips rotate. You're just lifting your heels to see what it feels like to unload that side and load up the other side a little. Yeah. And this is how we progress with our challenges. And you can use your exhale on exertion. It's really helpful here. Take a breath in and then roll down. Back to neutral. Go up one more time. We're only going to do one more thing here. I promise these to be about 30 minutes long, and I always feel like in order to give a nice well-rounded workout, I'm either going to go over a little bit or go too fast. So I'm going to try to find a happy medium here. So this time you're up there. If the heel lifts felt like a good challenge, stay there. Or if you feel like you want to be challenged a little more, you can lift off and do some marching. Now, as you lift your leg with the march, you want to make sure you're not dropping that hip. You have to stay nice and lifted in the pelvis on that leg, and it's really hard to put your foot down in the same footprint. And here you can inhale in one direction, exhale in the other. Both are pretty challenging. So just make sure you're moving and breathing and don't hold your breath. And then lift both hips up one more time and roll down one more time. And you can just pull your knees into your chest here for a little rest. And stretch through the low back. So we have one more thing to do in this position. Usually in a Pilates class, we try and move you around and not stay on your back for a long time. But there's one more little ab series I'd like to do here today. And that is, we're going to do our single and double leg lifts. So go ahead and come back to a neutral position. Your clock is parallel to the ceiling, and draw your abdominals in so that you're in your 12 o'clock position. You're rocking your pelvis to 12 o'clock. And on an exhale, you're going to make sure your bones on the back of your pelvis don't shift, and float one leg off. And inhale and set it down. And exhale, connect those abs and draw the other leg off. No shifting side to side. Keep the connection through the abdominals so your pelvis is staying right in the same position. Nothing changes with the point of contact for those bones. So you're exhaling up and inhaling down. Just try that a few more times. That's a little warm up. Now with each of these, if it feels good to you to stay right at this layer, that's fine. If you feel like there's a lot of organization that you need to do, I always say that you have to go through the forest. You can't skip ahead to the advanced work without really solidifying each of these layers. And I tell people it's like musicians practicing their scales, or in ballet, we practice our pliés and tendus all the time, the basic foundational vocabulary. So getting yourself organized here is really important. Now you're going to take one leg off and then the other leg off. So now you're in an open chain position, and you want to make sure that pelvis can stay stable here. So try a few of those. Doesn't matter which leg. The first leg you can get off, it's the second leg. Don't let your back arch. Pull it off with the exhale, and then put one down and the other one down. Try it one more time. Exhale. Inhale. And now exhale. Stay there. Now we're going to bring the challenge up another layer, and you're going to tap your toes away from your center. The whole time you're staying in that 12 o'clock position. And so now you have this heavy lever. Your leg is reaching away from your body. So reach those toes away. So now you're feeling a little more challenged. And the more you focus on pulling those abdominals up and in with your exhale, and continuing to feel that connection and spread of the abdominals into the back, then you will be able to build that strength of those deeper core stabilizers. And one more. And go ahead and let your feet rest down. So from here, we're going to we have one more little homework piece that we have to sort of get into the picture here. And that is what we call an ab prep or chest lift. So what I want you to do is a couple times just nod your chin. And now you're going to nod your chin, and using the abdominals right at the rib cage, you're going to close your ribs to curl up. So my pelvic clock is still parallel to the floor. I haven't gotten to 12 o'clock and I'm not arching my back, but I'm lifting and flexing forward using the ribs. Inhale and exhale, come down. And we're going to just try that a few times. When you nod your chin, make sure your head stays down so you get a little stretch and pull through the cervical spine and the connective tissue down into the back. But really feel like you're initiating right from those ribs to curl you up, and then you float down. And just try a few more. Nod and curl and down, and nod and curl, and then come down. So now we're going to nod and curl and lift one leg and then the other leg up. And we're supposed to do the hundreds from here. So let's go ahead and give it a try. You can stay here. You can extend your legs, or you can put any part of your body down, especially if your neck gets sore. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. Don't let your back come off the mat. Bend your knees if you need to. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 4, 5, inhale, 2, 3, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale, 2, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale, 2, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale, 2, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have no idea what count we're on. Let's do one more. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bend your knees in and lie right down. Good. So I've done about a quarter of the class in the time it should take me to do the whole class. So I'm going to make some adjustments so that we keep it pretty much on time, but we're for sure going to go over 30 minutes. So let's go onto your belly in a prone position, and we're just going to feel what it's like with a different relationship to gravity as you're connecting into that pelvic clock and feeling the back body. So from here, your legs are either parallel or they can be turned out and hip width apart. Your forehead is resting down, and because I know you can't hear me real well, I'm going to get into position, show you the exercise, and then just talk it through with my head up a little bit. So you're in this position, and I want you to find the 12 o'clock position with your pelvis. So now you have a little pressure down maybe into your pubic bone. You're still using the abdominal muscles, that soft tissue, to pull in towards your spine. And if you push your feet down a little, you'll feel the back of your legs, your hip extensors active. Your knees might come off the mat. That's okay. That's good. So your legs are really active. And you're going to exhale to lift the upper body. Inhale to stay, and exhale to come down. So abs are connected. Exhale to lift. Inhale to stay. Exhale to come down. Inhale and exhale to lift. Inhale to stay and exhale to come down. And one more. Inhale to prepare. Exhale. Inhale to stay and exhale to come down. Take your hands under your shoulders and just sit yourself back into a shell stretch. Whatever position is comfortable, try to lift the pelvis a bit so you get a little stretch and pull through the low back. And come on up from there. So from here, we're going to go on to, let's actually go on to our side body next and do our side leg series. So when you're doing the side leg, so we're changing our relationship to gravity here. And as we progress through the repertoire, we come up onto our arms and maybe even leaning up onto our legs so that we're a little higher up. But for today, I'd like you to line up ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and feet. And make sure that you're not piked forward with your legs. They're really in line with your body. And if you can, here's how we're going to connect that pelvic clock. Can you hike that 3 o'clock hip, the bottom hip, to your armpit? And when you do that, you feel your pelvis shift, you feel your abdominals connect on the bottom. We have what we call that little house for a mouse, and you have a long waist on the top. So from here, all we're going to do is lengthen that top leg as you lift and flex and lower. So we're going to do an abbreviated version of this series. So you're pointing and lifting and flexing and lowering, because I'd rather just do a few of the exercises and do them well than try to rush through a bunch of exercises. So we'll add some more in another time. And we do have this great YouTube channel that we're putting content into all the time. So you can check out the Move Wellness YouTube channel. And if you become a subscriber, you get notified when we add more videos. So now you can lift here, and let's just do some circles. So you're checking and making sure that bottom hip is hiked up. Guess what? You're moving and breathing too. And you're going to circle around in one direction and then switch. And if you have any questions about this series or anything Pilates or movement or fitness related, just post it in the notes here. You can email us at office@movewellness.com and go ahead and let that leg come down just to get a little adductor. We're going to lift, bring the bottom leg up and set it down. Lift, bottom leg and set it down. And lift, bottom leg and set it down. And lift, bottom leg and set it down. And then it's always nice just to give that hip a stretch right here. And let's go to the other side. We have more than 50 classes a week right now online. And you get to choose the classes that you want to take, and you can stream them through Zoom at home. Ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and feet. And bottom hip, hike that up. So you're getting, now it's 9 o'clock. You're hiking the 9 o'clock hip up to your armpit, getting that little house for a mouse, making sure your hips and shoulders are stacked. Reach that top leg long and point, lift, and flex lower. Really actively use the foot so that you're really using and stimulating the whole kinetic chain of the leg. Just a couple more. Last one. And point, lift, and circle around. 2, 3, 4. We do about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I like to not always do the same number so that my body or my clients' bodies can not just predict to get to 8 and be done, so that we're surprising it. But for today, we'll do 8. Good. Hold it out there, bottom leg up, both legs down. Inhale, exhale. I think I'm pretty sure I did this one last week too. And it's a nice one because all of a sudden that lever gets heavier, you want to sink down, but you're really still keeping your abdominals connected, and you'll feel your glutes and your adductors. The whole body's working the whole time, and then you get a little bit of a rest. You can stretch that hip out. Okay, one more series. We're going to go on to all fours. And for this series, we'll do our all fours series and then sit to finish. I'd like to start, hands are a little bit wider than your shoulders and knees under your hips. But what we'll do here is the protract and retract that we did early on when we were moving your shoulder blades, gliding them back and forth. I want to try that here with a different relationship to gravity. So we're going to, what does it feel like to have a nice neutral alignment in the shoulders? Your abdominals are connected, so you're feeling that party trick, those party trick abs pulling in. Your ears, shoulders, and hips are aligned. And let's glide your shoulder blades together and then come up to neutral. You're going to glide them together and then come up to neutral. And you're moving and breathing, maybe an inhale here, maybe an exhale. One more. Inhale, and exhale. Now protract. They pull away from each other and come to neutral. You push into the mat. Let your shoulder blades glide away. Make sure they're not going up to your ears, and come to neutral. Protract and come to neutral. And one more, protract and come to neutral. Now I want you to keep the length of your spine. So imagine you have a broom handle on your spine, and it's touching your head, your shoulders, and your tailbone. And you're not going to let that shift. It's not going to roll off or slide side to side, but you're going to try to rock forward and back, and forward and back, forward and back, and forward and back. Now we're going to do a little bit of a core challenge for that. So we're going to feel the abdominals. You're going to bring your thighs right next to each other, curl your toes under, and hover your knees off the mat. And this might just an inch, not so far your pelvis is up in the air. And now we're going to try the protract and retract. So you're going to push into the mat, protract and retract. Protract. Now, if you have to put your knees down, that's okay. This is a challenge. And like I said, this works in layers. And that's what we're trying to do, is bring some challenge to stability and mobility. Now you're in neutral. We're going to rock forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. One more. Forward and back. Let your knees come down. Sit back and shell stretch. And your tailbone is curled, your knees are apart. And then, good work. Whether your knees were up or down, that's really challenging. So from here, let's start with, bring your legs out in front. Your arms are gonna go to the side, and I'd like you to rotate around. Now you're gonna hug your abdominals in like you're squeezing a washcloth. You wanna rotate around the spine as you get taller, rotate around and around, come to the center. Actively reach your legs around and come to center. If you can't be up right here, it's okay to bend your knees or sit, tailor sit. And then rest down. Good. Bring your legs in. Sit, tailor sit, or however you were sitting at the beginning of the session. Let's take one arm up and stretch over. Push with the bottom arm to spread the rib cage and come on up and over the top, and switch and up and over. Push to spread the ribs and come on up. One more on either side. And then take both arms up, lift the chest and down. One more. Both arms lift the chest, lift the eyes, everything stretching in the front of the body, and down. And there you have it. Our second Facebook Live Pilates Basics, the abdominal session. So hopefully this will give you some good information to help you either, if you're already doing Pilates classes or any fitness really, these are principles of human movement, and so you can apply them to anything that you love to do. But if you have any questions for us, type them in here, reach out to us at office@movewellness.com. Check out our YouTube channel. We do have these amazing classes that are happening all week long, all times of the day. Really I work with the most phenomenal trainers on the planet who really care about our clients and would love to be helpful to you. So we hope to see you soon, and maybe you'll be back next week for our spinal mobilization, moving our spine. That's the theme of next week's class. So